When alien students discovered why Earth is called a Deathworld, they prayed to never set foot there. Part 1. The Great Lecture Hall of the Galactic Academy of Xenobiology was the largest room Thessa had ever seen. It could hold 300 students from dozens of different species, and today, every seat was filled. Thessa was a young Corvani female with bright purple feathers covering her head and neck. She had traveled across 4 star systems to study at this famous school, and she was excited for her first real class. She sat next to her roommate Prill, a strange but friendly being made entirely of living crystal. Prill came from a small moon where nothing ever changed. The weather was always the same. The temperature never moved up or down. It was a peaceful and boring place. Prill had come to the academy to learn about worlds that were different from home. Today they would both learn about a world more different than either of them could imagine. Professor Zeltrix walked slowly to the center of the stage. Zeltrix was a Velthari, a tall creature with blue skin that you could see through like glass. The professor had 6 thin arms and moved with great care and dignity. Zeltrix was over 200 years old and had spent most of that time studying dangerous worlds and the creatures that lived on them. The professor touched a small device, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a small planet floating in space. The planet was blue and green and white, wrapped in thin clouds. It looked peaceful. It looked beautiful. Today, we begin our study of a world called Earth, Professor Zeltrix said. The translation devices in every seat converted the words into languages that each student could understand. The creatures who live there call themselves humans. They call their world Earth, but we have given it a different name. We call it Sol 3, and it is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. A wave of whispers moved through the audience. Thessa felt her feathers stand up straight. She had never heard of any world rated above Class 7. Class 12 was supposed to be impossible. I see that some of you understand what this means, Zeltrix continued. For those who do not, let me explain. The Galactic Council rates all known worlds on a scale of danger. Class 1 worlds are perfectly safe. The air is clean. The weather is calm. Nothing tries to eat you. Class 12 worlds are so dangerous that we do not believe intelligent life should be able to evolve there at all. The professor moved one of their 6 arms, and the hologram zoomed in on the planet. Now the students could see the surface in detail. There were vast blue oceans stretching from one side of the world to the other. There were towering white mountains capped with something cold and white. There were thick green forests and wide golden deserts. Earth has everything, Zeltrix said. It has oceans that can swallow you whole. It has mountains that can freeze you solid. It has deserts that can cook you alive. It has forests filled with creatures that want to eat you. And yet, somehow, humans have not only survived on this world. They have become the dominant species. They have built cities and nations. They have split the atom and walked on their moon. And soon, very soon, they will reach the stars. Prill's crystal body flickered with a pale blue light. Thessa knew this meant her roommate was afraid. She reached over and touched Prill's arm gently. "Do not worry," she whispered. "They are very far away." But Professor Zeltrix heard her. The old Velthari turned their large dark eyes toward Thessa and smiled in a way that was not comforting at all. "Far away," the professor repeated. "Yes, they are far away. For now, but humans move fast. They learn fast. They adapt fast. What takes other species 10,000 years to figure out, humans learn in 100. What kills other species makes humans stronger. And that is what makes them the most dangerous creatures we have ever found." The professor changed the hologram again. Now it showed a group of humans standing together. There were 2 adults and 2 children. They were standing in front of a small dwelling made of wood and stone. A four-legged creature with golden fur sat at their feet. Thesis studied them carefully. The humans had soft skin with no scales or armor. They had flat teeth, not fangs. They had small round ears and forward-facing eyes. Their bodies were covered in colorful fabric. They did not look dangerous at all. They looked soft and weak. "I know what you are thinking," Zeltrix said. "You are thinking that these creatures cannot possibly be a threat. They have no claws. They have no poison. They have no shells to protect them. How could they possibly be dangerous?" The professor paused and looked around the room. "This is exactly what the Venari thought," Zeltrix continued. The Venari were a powerful species with strong armor and sharp claws. They lived on a world not far from Earth. When they first detected human radio signals, they laughed. They said humans were weak and primitive. They sent a small fleet to conquer Earth and take its resources. The room was completely silent now. Every student was listening. "That was 300 years ago," Zeltrix said. "The Venari no longer exist. Not because humans destroyed them. No, humans never even knew they were coming. The Venari fleet entered Earth's atmosphere and was torn apart by what humans call a thunderstorm. Those who survived the landing were killed by local wildlife. Those who survived the wildlife were killed by microscopic organisms that live in Earth's water and soil. In 3 days, the entire Venari invasion force was dead. Humans found the wreckage and thought it was a strange meteor shower. Thesa could not believe what she was hearing. An entire species wiped out by accident, by weather and germs and animals. Not by weapons, not by armies, just by the planet itself. "This is why Earth is classified as a death world," Professor Zeltrix said. "And this is why humans are so frightening. They do not just survive on this world of constant death. They love it. They think it is beautiful. They swim in waters filled with monsters. They climb mountains that can kill them with cold. They live next to volcanoes and in the paths of storms. And they do all of this by choice." The professor turned off the hologram and stood in the dim light of the lecture hall. "Over the next 5 days, I will show you exactly what makes Earth so deadly and what makes humans so extraordinary. By the end, you will understand why the Galactic Council watches humanity with such careful attention. And you will understand why many of us pray that when humans finally reach the stars, they will choose to be our friends." Thesa looked at Prill. Her roommate had gone completely dark. All light faded from her crystal body. Thesa understood the feeling. For the first time in her life, she felt truly small and truly afraid. And the lecture had only just begun. When alien students discovered why Earth is called a death world, they prayed to never set foot there. Part 2. Next morning, Thesa woke up early. She had not slept well. Her dreams had been filled with images of the blue and green planet and of the soft-skinned creatures who lived there. Prill had not slept at all. Crystal beings did not need sleep, but they did need peace. And Prill had found no peace during the long night. Together they walked to the lecture hall. The corridors of the academy were busy with students from many worlds. Thesa saw Minari floating past in their water-filled bubbles. She saw Yelfin sliding along on trails of slime. She saw Kolvani like herself, and Velthri like the professor, and dozens of species she could not even name. But today, everyone was talking about the same thing. Everyone was talking about Earth. The lecture hall was even more crowded than before. Students who had not signed up for the class had come anyway. They stood along the walls and sat in the aisles. Everyone wanted to know more about the Death World. Professor Zeltrix walked onto the stage and looked at the crowd. The old professor did not seem surprised by the extra students. Perhaps this happened every time the Earth lecture was given. "Today we will examine the environment of Earth," Zeltrix began. "I must warn you that some of what you will see may cause distress. Medical staff are standing by. The professor touched the control device, and suddenly the entire lecture hall changed. The walls disappeared. The ceiling vanished. The students found themselves standing on the surface of Earth. Thesa gasped and grabbed Prill's arm. She knew it was just a simulation, just a very advanced hologram, but it felt completely real. She could feel wind on her feathers. She could smell strange scents in the air. She could hear sounds she had never heard before. They were standing in a field of green. Tall plants swayed in the breeze. Above them, the sky was a brilliant blue, with a single yellow star burning overhead. "This is what humans call a meadow," Zeltrix said. The professor appeared beside them, also part of the simulation. "It seems peaceful, does it not? But let me show you the truth." Data began appearing in the air around them. Numbers and warnings and danger indicators. "The atmosphere of Earth contains 21% oxygen," Zeltrix explained. "For many species, this is a lethal concentration. Oxygen is highly reactive. It causes burning and corrosion. Humans breathe this air constantly, from the moment they are born until the moment they die." Thesa looked at the air around her with new eyes. She was breathing poison. Beautiful, invisible poison. "The gravity of Earth is also extreme," Zeltrix continued. "At 9.8 meters per second squared, it is much stronger than most inhabited worlds. This means that falling from even a small height can break bones and damage organs. Humans accept this risk as normal." The simulation changed. Now they were standing at the edge of a vast body of water. Waves crashed against rocks below them. The water stretched all the way to the horizon. "This is an ocean," Zeltrix said. "Earth has 5 major oceans covering 71% of the planet's surface. This water is filled with salt and minerals. It is home to millions of species, many of which are deadly predators. And yet, humans deliberately enter this water. They swim in it. They sail across it. They dive deep beneath its surface to explore." A Yelthan student in the front of the group began shaking uncontrollably. 2 medical drones moved forward and gently carried the student away. "The water itself is dangerous," Zeltrix continued. "It is a universal solvent. Given enough time, it can dissolve almost anything. Human bodies are made mostly of water. They are literally composed of the substance that surrounds them and threatens to break them down." The simulation changed again. Now they stood on top of a tall mountain. The air was thin and cold. Snow covered everything. Thesa could see for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. "Earth has mountain ranges that reach nearly 9 kilometers above sea level," Zeltrix explained. "At these heights, the air is too thin to breathe, and the cold can kill in minutes. Humans climb these mountains for fun. They call it a sport. Many die every year attempting to reach the highest peaks, and still more come to try." Prill's crystal body was flickering rapidly now. Thesa could tell her roommate was struggling to process what they were seeing. The simulation changed once more. Now they stood on a flat plain beneath a dark and angry sky. In the distance, a massive funnel of spinning cloud reached down from the heavens and touched the ground. It was moving toward them, destroying everything in its path. "This is called a tornado," Zeltrix said. "It is a rotating column of air that can reach speeds of over 400 kilometers per hour. It can destroy buildings, throw vehicles through the air, and kill without warning. These phenomena occur regularly in certain regions of Earth. Humans continue to live in these regions. Some humans actually chase these storms, driving toward them in vehicles to observe them up close." Thesa wanted to run. She knew it was not real, but every instinct in her body screamed at her to flee. The simulation shifted to show fire. Massive walls of flame consuming forests and spreading across the land. "Wildfires," Zeltrix said simply. "Earth's vegetation can catch fire from lightning strikes or volcanic activity. Once started, These fires can burn for weeks and cover thousands of square kilometers. The smoke alone can kill. Humans fight these fires with water and chemicals, often putting themselves in great danger to protect their homes. Then came the earthquakes. The ground shaking and splitting apart. Buildings collapsing. The very planet trying to tear itself to pieces. Earth's outer layer is broken into massive plates that float on liquid rock, Zeltrix explained. These plates constantly move and grind against each other. When they slip, the ground shakes violently. Humans call this an earthquake. It can level cities in seconds. And yet, humans build their largest cities directly on top of the most active fault lines. They accept the risk. They adapt and rebuild. Finally, the simulation showed a massive wave of water, taller than any building, rushing toward a coastline. This is a tsunami, Zeltrix said. It is caused by underwater earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. The wave can travel across entire oceans and strike coastlines with devastating force. Millions of humans live in areas vulnerable to tsunamis. They have early warning systems, but sometimes there is simply not enough time. The simulation ended. The walls of the lecture hall reappeared. The students stood in silence. Many of them visibly shaken. Professor Zeltrix walked to the center of the stage and looked at the crowd. You have now seen a small sample of Earth's environment, the professor said. Fire, water, wind, earth, ice, and poison air. All of these things surround humans every day of their lives. Every moment they are alive, their planet is trying to kill them in one way or another. Zeltrix paused and let the words sink in. And yet they love it. They write poems about the beauty of storms. They paint pictures of volcanic mountains. They travel across their world specifically to see these dangerous places. They do not run from their deadly planet. They embrace it. Thesa felt her heart beating fast in her chest. She had come to the academy to learn about alien life, but she had never expected to learn about anything like this. Tomorrow, Zeltrix said, we will examine the creatures that share Earth with humanity. If you thought today was frightening, I suggest you prepare yourselves, because the animals of Earth make the environment seem gentle by comparison. The professor turned and walked off the stage. The students began to file out slowly, talking in hushed voices about what they had seen. Thesa stayed in her seat. She was not sure her legs could carry her. Are you all right? Prill asked. Thesa shook her head slowly. No, she admitted. I do not think I will be all right for a very long time. When alien students discovered why Earth is called a Deathworld, they prayed to never set foot there. Part 3, by the third day of lectures. The entire academy was buzzing with talk about Earth and its strange inhabitants. Students who had never cared about xenobiology were now desperate to get into Professor Zeltrix's class. The lecture hall was filled beyond its normal capacity, and hundreds more watched through video feeds in other rooms. Thesa had brought a small bag with her today. Inside was a calming drink and some medication that her species used for anxiety. She had a feeling she would need both. Professor Zeltrix walked onto the stage and waited for silence. It came quickly. Everyone was afraid of what they might see today, but they were also desperate to know more. Today we examine the fauna of Earth, Zeltrix began. The animals that share the planet with humanity. I must issue a strong warning. What you are about to see may cause nightmares. Several students left the academy entirely after this particular lecture in previous years. There is no shame in leaving if you cannot continue. Nobody left. Nobody even moved. Let us begin in the water, Zeltrix said. The hologram activated, and suddenly a massive creature appeared in the center of the room. It was gray and white, shaped like a torpedo, with a mouth full of triangular teeth. Its black eyes were cold and empty. This is called a great white shark, Zeltrix explained. They can grow to over 6 meters in length and weigh more than 2,000 kilograms. It can smell blood in the water from nearly 5 kilometers away. When it attacks, it strikes with enough force to lift its entire body out of the water. The hologram showed the shark attacking. Its jaws opened impossibly wide, revealing row after row of razor-sharp teeth. Humans swim in waters where these creatures hunt, Zeltrix said. They surf on boards in the ocean, knowing that sharks may be watching from below. Some humans even dive into the water specifically to observe sharks up close. They call it shark diving. It is considered entertainment. Several students made sounds of distress. One Corvani in the back of the room actually screamed. The image changed to show a small, transparent creature floating in blue water. It looked delicate and beautiful, like a living work of art. "This is a box jellyfish," Zeltrix said. "Do not be deceived by its appearance. Contact with its tentacles can cause immediate cardiac arrest. The venom attacks the heart, the nervous system, and the skin simultaneously. Death can occur within minutes. These creatures live in waters where humans regularly swim." The hologram shifted to land. Now they saw a long, legless creature with scales and fangs. "Earth has many species of snake," Zeltrix explained. "Some are harmless. Many are not. This is called a king cobra. It can grow to over 5 meters long. Its venom can kill a human in less than an hour. When threatened, it raises its body off the ground and spreads its hood in a display of aggression. Despite this, some humans keep these creatures as pets." "Pets?" Prill whispered in horror. "They keep deadly animals in their homes on purpose?" Thesa could only nod. She was too shocked to speak. The images kept coming. There were spiders with venom that could dissolve flesh from the inside. There were insects that carried diseases capable of killing millions. There were massive reptiles called crocodiles that had survived unchanged for millions of years because they were already perfect killing machines. Then, Professor Zeltrix showed them something that made the entire room go silent. It was a small creature with 4 legs and soft fur. It had big eyes and a wet nose. Its tail wagged back and forth as it looked at the audience. "This is called a dog," Zeltrix said. The students looked at each other in confusion. The creature did not look dangerous. It looked almost cute. "Dogs are descended from wolves," Zeltrix explained. "Wolves are pack predators that hunt in coordinated groups. They can bring down prey many times their own size. Their jaws can crush bone. They are intelligent, persistent, and utterly ruthless when hunting." The hologram showed a wolf pack taking down a large animal with antlers. The violence was swift and efficient. "Thousands of years ago," Zeltrix continued, "humans looked at these predators and made a decision that no other species in the galaxy would consider rational. They decided to befriend them. They took wolf pups into their homes. They fed them and bred them and slowly transformed them into the creatures we now call dogs." The image showed a human child sleeping on a bed with a large dog curled up beside it. "Today, there are over 400 million dogs on Earth," Zeltrix said. "They live in human homes. They sleep in human beds. They play with human children. Humans have turned apex predators into family members." Thesa felt dizzy. The idea was insane. It was like inviting death into your home and then teaching it to fetch toys. "But dogs are not the most shocking example," Zeltrix said. "Observe this creature." A new animal appeared. It was smaller than the dog, with sleek fur and sharp claws. Its eyes were narrow and knowing. "This is a cat," Zeltrix said. "Cats are obligate carnivores. They are evolved killing machines. Every part of their body is designed for hunting. They have retractable claws, excellent night vision, and reflexes that make them among the fastest creatures on Earth." The hologram showed a cat moving through tall grass, its body low and its eyes fixed on something ahead. Then it exploded forward with incredible speed and precision. Cats kill billions of animals every year on Earth, Zeltrix said. They are so effective as predators that they have driven multiple species to extinction, and humans invite them into their homes. They let cats sleep on their furniture, eat from their plates, and curl up on their bodies while they rest. A Minari student raised a tentacle. Professor, surely there must be some protective measures. Some kind of training or control. Zeltrix made a sound that might have been a laugh. No, the professor said. Cats are essentially wild animals that have agreed to tolerate humans in exchange for food and shelter. They cannot be trained in any meaningful way. They do what they please. And humans accept this. Many humans claim that they do not own cats. They say that cats own them. The lecture hall erupted in confused and frightened chatter. Zeltrix waited for quiet and then continued. There is one more creature I must show you. One that combines size, strength, speed, and danger in a single animal. The hologram showed a tall, four-legged creature with a long face and a flowing mane. It was beautiful and powerful, with muscles that rippled beneath its skin. This is a horse, Zeltrix said. It weighs approximately 500 kilograms. It can run at speeds over 70 kilometers per hour. A single kick from its legs can kill instantly. Its bite can crush bones. It can trample a human to death in seconds. The professor paused. Humans sit on top of these animals and ride them, Zeltrix said. They race them for sport. They teach their children to ride them from a young age. Falls from horses cause thousands of injuries and deaths every year, and still humans consider horse riding to be a peaceful, traditional activity. Thesa realized she had been holding her breath. She forced herself to breathe again. By now, you may be wondering how humans have survived at all, Professor Zeltrix said. They are surrounded by predators and dangers at all times. They share their world with creatures that could kill them in moments. And yet, they not only survive, they thrive. They form bonds with deadly animals. They swim with sharks. They keep venomous snakes in glass boxes in their living rooms. The professor turned off the hologram and stood in the dim light. Tomorrow, I will explain how this is possible. I will show you what humans are truly made of. Their bodies, their minds, their spirits. I warn you now, it will be the most frightening lecture of all. Because when you understand what humans are capable of, you will understand why the Galactic Council has never made formal contact. You will understand why we watch from a distance and pray that they never see us as enemies. Thesa looked at Prill. Her crystalline roommate had curled into a tight ball, trying to make herself as small as possible. Tomorrow would come too soon. When alien students discovered why Earth is called a Deathworld, they prayed to never set foot there. Part 4. The fourth day arrived, and Thesa found herself unable to eat breakfast. Her stomach was twisted with anxiety about what the lecture might reveal. If the environment of Earth was deadly, and the animals of Earth were terrifying, what horrors awaited when Professor Zeltrix finally explained the humans themselves? She walked to the lecture hall with Prill beside her. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing to say. The room was packed beyond belief. Students stood in every corner. Some hung from the ceiling using specialized equipment. Others floated in tanks of water or hovered on anti-gravity platforms. It seemed like half the academy had come to watch. Professor Zeltrix entered and walked to the center of the stage. The old Veltari looked tired, as if the weight of knowledge was pressing down on those thin blue shoulders. Today we examine humanity itself, the professor began. Their bodies, their minds, their psychology. I have taught this lecture 47 times over the years. It never gets easier. Some truths are simply too strange to accept. The hologram activated and showed a detailed image of a human body. It rotated slowly, revealing every angle. At first glance, humans appear fragile, Zeltrix said. No armor. No natural weapons. No protective shells. Their skin is thin and tears easily. Their bodies are soft. Many species look at humans and see prey. The professor paused. This assessment is dangerously incorrect. New data appeared around the hologram. Diagrams and charts and numbers filled the air. Human bones are made of a material that can repair itself after breaking, Zeltrix explained. If a human breaks a bone, the bone will heal over time. The new bone tissue that grows is often stronger than the original bone. This means that damage makes humans more durable, not less. Thesia felt her feathers stand up. A species that got stronger from injury? Human skin also regenerates, Zeltrix continued. Cuts and wounds close on their own. The body produces new tissue to replace what was damaged. Scars form, marking the injury, but functionality is restored. The hologram zoomed in on a human organ, a dark red mass shaped like a wedge. This is the human liver, the professor said. It can regenerate up to 70% of its mass if damaged or removed. Humans can donate portions of their liver to other humans and both individuals will survive. A Yelthan student vomited. Cleaning drones moved in quickly. But the most remarkable aspect of human biology is their persistence, Zeltrix said. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. They could not run as fast as their prey, so instead they followed it. They walked and jogged for hours, sometimes days, until their prey collapsed from exhaustion. Humans simply refused to stop. The hologram showed a human running across a dry landscape under a burning sun. The human body is designed for endurance, Zeltrix explained. They sweat to cool themselves, allowing them to continue moving while other animals overheat. They can run for hours without stopping. They can walk for days without rest. They simply keep going until they succeed or die. Trying, Professor Zeltrix pulled up footage from Earth. It showed thousands of humans running through the streets of a city. This is called a marathon, the professor said. Humans run over 42 kilometers for sport, for entertainment. They call it fun. Some participate in longer events called ultramarathons that cover hundreds of kilometers across deserts and mountains. What happens when they get injured during these events? A student asked. They continue running, Zeltrix replied. There are documented cases of humans completing races on broken legs, on bleeding feet, with torn muscles and damaged joints. They simply refuse to stop. The hologram changed to show a diagram of the human brain. Human psychology is equally remarkable, Zeltrix said. Their minds have developed something called adrenaline response. When faced with danger, their bodies release chemicals that suppress pain, increase strength, and sharpen focus. In moments of crisis, humans become faster and stronger than they normally are. The professor showed footage of a human lifting a vehicle. Beneath it, a child was trapped. This human female weighed 55 kilograms, Zeltrix said. The vehicle weighed over 1,500 kilograms. Under normal circumstances, she could never have moved it. But her child was in danger. Her adrenaline activated, and she lifted a weight that should have been impossible. The lecture hall was completely silent. Humans call this hysterical strength, Zeltrix continued. It has been documented many times. When humans believe they must succeed, when failure is not acceptable, their bodies find ways to do the impossible. More footage appeared. Soldiers continuing to fight after losing limbs. Explorers crossing frozen wastelands without proper equipment. Survivors trapped for weeks without food or water. Humans have a saying, Professor Zeltrix said. What does not kill me makes me stronger. They mean this, literally. Trauma makes them more resilient. Hardship makes them more determined. They adapt to suffering in ways that other species cannot understand. The professor turned off the hologram and walked closer to the students. But perhaps the most dangerous aspect of humanity is their social bonding, Zeltrix said. Humans form attachments so strong that they will sacrifice themselves without hesitation. They will run into burning buildings to save strangers. They will travel across their entire planet to retrieve the bodies of fallen comrades. They will fight armies to protect a single friend. Thesa thought about her own people, the Corvani. They cared about family, of course. They helped each other when convenient. But sacrifice? True sacrifice? That was rare. Human soldiers have thrown themselves on explosive devices to protect their squads, Zeltrix said. Human parents have died shielding their children from harm. Human friends have donated organs to save each other. This is not occasional behavior. This is fundamental to their nature. The professor pulled up one final image. It showed two humans standing together. One was badly injured, covered in blood and dirt. The other was carrying them on their back, walking through difficult terrain. This photograph was taken during a human military conflict, Zeltrix said. The injured human had been shot multiple times. His companion refused to leave him behind. He carried his friend for over 30 kilometers through enemy territory. When rescue teams found them, he was still walking. He had been walking for 3 days without food or sleep. Did they survive? Someone asked. The injured human died before reaching safety, Zeltrix said. His friend continued carrying the body. He said he had promised not to leave him behind. The lecture hall was filled with soft sounds of distress, crying, whispered prayers, the shuffling of bodies trying to process what they had heard. This is humanity, Professor Zeltrix said. They are not the fastest species. They are not the strongest. They are not the most intelligent. But they are the most persistent, the most adaptable, the most devoted to each other. When a human decides that something matters, they will pursue it until they succeed or until they are dead. There is no middle ground. There is no surrender. There is only forward. The professor turned and looked at the image of the two soldiers one more time. Tomorrow we will discuss the implications of everything you have learned, Zeltrix said. We will talk about what happens when humanity finally reaches the stars. And we will discuss why the Galactic Council has spent centuries debating how to handle them. The professor walked off the stage. Thesa sat in her seat, tears running down her feathered face. She was crying, but she was not sure if she was afraid or moved or both. Are you all right? Prill asked gently. Thesa shook her head. I do not think I will ever be the same after this, she said. I do not think any of us will. When alien students discovered why Earth is called a Deathworld, they prayed to never set foot there. Part 5. The final day of the lecture series arrived. Thesa had spent the night staring at the ceiling of her room, thinking about everything she had learned. Prill had tried to comfort her, but there was no comfort to be found. The truth about Earth and humanity was too big, too strange, too frightening to process easily. The lecture hall was more crowded than ever. Thesa counted representatives from at least 80 different species. Many had traveled from distant parts of the Academy specifically for this final session. News of the Earth lectures had spread across the entire station. Professor Zeltrix walked onto the stage and stood in silence for a long moment. The old Veltari looked out at the sea of faces and seemed to gather strength from somewhere deep inside. For centuries, the Galactic Council has debated how to approach humanity, the professor began. Many factions argued for immediate isolation. Build walls around their system. Never let them know we exist. Others suggested more extreme measures. Some thought we should act before humans developed faster than light travel, before they could become a threat. The room was absolutely silent. But neither approach was taken, Zeltrix continued. And I will tell you why. I will share with you a classified report from a Galactic Council observation team. What you are about to hear happened 3 standard cycles ago. It has never been shared outside the highest levels of government. Until now. The hologram activated and showed a small spacecraft crashed on the surface of Earth. It was smoking and broken, clearly damaged beyond repair. This was a scout vessel from the Minari Trade Federation, Zeltrix explained. It experienced engine failure while passing through the Sol system. The crew had no choice but to attempt an emergency landing. They came down in a region called Montana, in the northern part of a nation called the United States. Thesa leaned forward. She knew Minari students. They were kind and gentle, with soft bodies that floated in water-filled suits. The idea of them stranded on Earth was terrifying. The distress beacon was activated, Zeltrix said. But the Galactic Council could not reach them quickly. Faster-than-light travel still takes time. The rescue team would need at least 6 days to arrive. The hologram showed 3 Minari survivors crawling from the wreckage. They were injured and afraid, stranded on an alien world that they knew only as a Deathworld. By all predictions, they should have died within hours, Zeltrix said. The atmosphere was wrong. The gravity was crushing. Predators were everywhere. They had no supplies, no shelter, no hope. The image changed. It showed a small dwelling in a green valley surrounded by mountains. 2 humans were walking toward the crash site. One was a tall male. The other was a smaller female. Beside them walked a 4-legged creature with golden fur. These were local humans, Zeltrix said. Their names were Jack Collins and Lisa Collins. They were what humans call ranchers. They raised animals for food and lived alone in this remote area. When they saw the crash, they came to investigate. Thesa held her breath. She expected to see violence, capture, dissection, all the things that frightened species did to aliens in stories. The Minari crew were terrified, Zeltrix continued. They had heard the stories about Earth. They knew what humans were capable of. When the humans approached, the crew prepared to die. The hologram showed the moment of first contact. The 2 humans stood over the Minari survivors, looking down at creatures they had never seen before. The dog sniffed at one of the Minari with curiosity. What happened next was recorded by the Minari emergency systems, Zeltrix said. I will play the audio for you now. It has been translated into common language. A voice filled the lecture hall. It was shaky and afraid. Clearly, the voice of the Minari pilot. The humans are approaching. They are carrying objects. I believe they may be weapons. This is likely my final report. I only hope the Council finds our bodies and learns what happened here. There was a pause. Wait, the female human is kneeling down. She is touching my wounds. She is using soft material to stop the bleeding. I do not understand. The male is speaking. He seems concerned. He keeps asking if we are all right. Another pause. They are lifting us. They are carrying us toward their dwelling. The male is very careful not to hurt us. The female is making sounds that seem meant to comfort. The animal is walking beside us, watching us with what appears to be concern. The recording continued. It described how Jack and Lisa Collins brought the Minari crew into their home. How Lisa cleaned and bandaged their wounds using human medical supplies. How Jack covered the windows and prepared a space for them to rest. I asked the male why he was helping us, the Minari voice said. He is a stranger. We are aliens. We crashed on his world. By every logic I know, he should fear us or hate us or try to gain advantage from our weakness. Silence. His answer was simple. He said it was the right thing to do. That is all. When I pressed him for more explanation, he seemed confused by the question. He said that when someone is hurt and needs help, you help them. He said this was obvious. The recording went on. It described how Jack stayed awake through the night, watching over the Minari with a weapon ready, not to threaten them, but to protect them. He was afraid that other humans might come and react badly to alien visitors. He was standing guard for creatures he had known for less than a day. The female, Lisa, spent hours treating my injuries, the voice said. She has no medical training. She is not a healer. She is a rancher who raises animals. But she worked with great care and gentleness, constantly asking if she was causing pain, constantly apologizing when I winced. When the Galactic Council rescue team finally arrived, they found the Minari crew healthy and recovering. Jack and Lisa helped load them onto the rescue vessel. They asked no questions about the technology. They requested no rewards. They asked only one thing. The female asked if there was other life in the universe, the Minari voice said in the recording. She wanted to know if the stars were filled with people like us. And when I confirmed that there was, she smiled and said she had always hoped so. She said she was glad we were friendly. The recording ended. The lecture hall was absolutely silent. Professor Zeltrick stepped forward and spoke softly. This is why Earth is designated a death world. This is why humanity may be the most remarkable species we have ever encountered. They evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every moment of every day. They developed resilience, persistence, and an almost incomprehensible capacity for both violence and compassion. The professor looked around the room at the hundreds of students watching. They can be warriors of terrifying capability. They can hunt prey for days without stopping. They can survive injuries that would kill any other species. They can and will fight against impossible odds if they believe their cause is just. Zeltrix paused. But they can also be caregivers of extraordinary tenderness. They take in stranded aliens and treat their wounds. They stand guard through the night to protect strangers. They give help because it is the right thing to do. And they need no other reason. The professor walked to the edge of the stage and looked directly at the students. The Galactic Council remains undecided on formal contact with humanity. The debate continues. Some still argue for isolation. Some argue for caution. Some argue that we should reach out and introduce ourselves. Zeltrick smiled, a rare expression on the old Velthry's face. I will tell you what I have concluded after 30 cycles of studying humanity. When they finally reach the stars, and they will reach the stars, I pray that we are counted among their friends. Because their friendship is fierce and loyal and unbreakable. And the alternative, the thought of being their enemy, is something that should make every species in this galaxy deeply, profoundly afraid. The professor bowed slowly and then stood straight. This concludes our lecture series on Earth. May you carry this knowledge wisely. May you share it carefully. And may you remember what you have learned when the day comes that humanity arrives at our doorstep. Professor Zeltrix walked off the stage. The students sat in silence for a long time. Thesa finally stood and looked at Prill. Her crystalline friend was glowing softly with a warm golden light, a sign of deep emotion among crystal beings. What are you thinking? Thesa asked. Prill was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. I think I want to meet them someday, Prill said. Humans. I think I want to know what it feels like to have friends who would carry you for days, just to keep a promise. Thesa nodded slowly. She understood. Despite everything she had learned, despite all the fear and horror, there was something beautiful about humanity. Something worth knowing. Something worth hoping for. She opened her personal datapad and began to write. Personal Observation Log, Entry 1. Today I learned about humanity. Today I learned about fear. But more than that, today I learned about hope. And I think that is what humanity really teaches us. That even in a universe of death and danger, there is always a reason to hope. She looked up at the empty stage one more time. Then she walked out into the stars, carrying the story of Earth with her forever. The end.